Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So you've already seen the title of this video, and I am going to give you my thoughts on books 1 through 3 of the Awakens series by Elise Kova. Now, before we get into that, I want to give a couple announcements. First, definitely make sure you check out the description box below if you want to follow me on Patreon and join our book club, my Pango Books account, my Instagram, or my Goodreads, all linked down below. Also, make sure that you like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my future content. So we are down to, every Saturday there being a video, and unfortunately this week is going to be a slightly shorter video than what I normally produce each week, only because I do have thoughts about the books. And that's my next disclaimer, that if you do not want any spoilers for Awakens, if you have never read the Awakens series, or if you've read the first book but haven't continued on, please don't watch this video until you do, unless you want to be spoiled yourself. So I'm giving you that fair warning. So let's get into my thoughts of Awakens, Fire Falling, and Earth's End, I believe, are the first 3. You guys, I don't even know where to start with this. So this is a YA fantasy romance. If you're not familiar with the Awakens series, you are following a girl who is a librarian who studies, just a lot of the different things that have happened in history and different things. So she works in the library, and then one day something happens and she is brought into the Sorcerer Tower, and things kind of go from there. Now, my thoughts on this starting out was this was a very typical YA fantasy where you have one girl who kind of just does something that really isn't a huge thing. Like, she's not a princess, she's not a duchess, she's not anything. She is just a low-born girl, and then she finds out that she is somebody. So it's a very typical YA plotline. So whenever she finds out, like, the sorcerer that comes to her and says that he wants to meet with her and everything, all of a sudden the crown prince Aldrich is involved, and he's been talking to her, and she didn't know that it was him. And then whenever she figures it out that it is him, she's like, can you be my mentor? Now, we find out that Prince Aldrich actually not really throws her, but pushes her out of the tower, or from like some high up building, because then he awakens her air magic. Now, the one thing that was interesting is the air, they're not called airbenders. I keep wanting to say airbenders, but the ones that can control the air have all been basically like eradicated through genocide, where, they have been brought up in history as someone who is going to destroy the whole kingdom. They were all about the Crystal Caverns, which you find out more about that. And so basically they were all hunted down and killed. So anybody that showed any sign of air magic was killed. You do have the Earthbreakers, you have the water wielders, water runners, I think they're called. You have the fire wielders, I believe, and the air. And I don't think I'm missing any of them. So you have all of those, and then you have the north, south, east, and west. Now, the north, south, east, and west kind of correlates to what kind of magic you have per se. So everyone from the east were the ones that had the air magic. And, you're brought up throughout this whole plot line thinking that all air magic wielders have been, basically eradicated through a genocide, through all of that. Well, all of a sudden, our girl, Vala Jarl, she is an air magic wielder. So she is like the first in like 150 years, I believe. So, the prince is like, we need to keep you safe, yada, yada. And the one thing that really kind of took me out of the story, like I said, it is a typical YA plotline. But the way that her and the crowned prince, like a lowborn, female and the crown prince, somehow are, like, it's just easy to talk to each other. They want to be around each other. You don't quite understand what's going on. And, it was hard for me to get into the story at first because I was like, I understand that, you're building this, plot line up. You're building up, that our girl is the one person in this whole entire continent or world or whatever that can do air magic. So now she is like the chosen one, right? The one that's going to bring down everything. And I was like, okay, here we go with the typical plot lines. The one thing that, like I said, kept bringing me out of the story was how her and Aldrich kept communicating with each other, talking with each other, always being around each other. And you find out that whenever she saved the prince's life, whenever he came back with poison in him from the war that is going on in the north, she thought that she was, rescuing Balder. So she, tried everything she could. She had no idea at this point that she had magic, right? But she was just trying everything she could to save the prince, from what she had read in tomes and texts. Now, come to find out, that was actually Aldrich that she had saved, and somehow our girl, before she knew that she had magic, had infused her magic into Aldrich, forming a bond, and she didn't even know she was forming this bond. Now, bonds aren't really explained because I guess people don't really know much about bonds. And you hear that from Aldrich because he's like, we just don't know much about bonds or how they work or what, it kind of entails. So we don't even know if you die, then I die, or do I keep living? Like, how does that work? So I'm thinking in my head that as the story is progressing and you're seeing how this bond is like making their feelings, for each other, like more potent, and they're falling for each other and they want to be with each other. It's kind of like a mating bond is what I'm kind of assuming, because even though it's not like the mating bonds that you hear of where like they see each other and they're mated, or they taste each other's blood and they're mated, like it's not like that. So it's kind of like you form a bond, but I guess their bond goes deeper because their magic has intertwined with each other, where her air magic is in him and his fire magic is in her. So neither one of their magics can hurt each other. So he can produce flames and put them over her body, and all she does is feel like a sizzling or like, sparkle effect kind of thing where it just tingles, I guess, and it doesn't hurt her. So his fire is the only one that cannot hurt her. Now, anyone else's fire can. So keep that in mind. So as we're going through this, we're learning about the world. We're learning about the air magic. We're learning about the prince. We're learning about the bond as we go. And then all of a sudden, Balder, who is the spare, right? So he is the one that gets to have fun and sleeps around with all these other women and stuff. So he catches Vala in the rose garden with the prince. And so he's like, come with me, Vala. And he takes her to his room where they have lunch, I guess. It's kind of weird. Like, I don't understand why he did that. But then I guess he's like trying to warn her, in a sense, like to not get wrapped up in things. But he invites her to the ball that's going to be going on. And of course, he's like, I will produce your gown. I'll give you your fake name. I'll get you in. That's what I want. And so Vala, reluctantly accepts. She doesn't want to. So here we are at the end of the first book. She's going to the ball and something happens, right? Like, so she dances with the prince and ends up dancing with a bunch of other people. And she follows the prince outside and they end up having a magical moment. They have their first kiss. I was all up in arms for it. I was like, yes, we knew the romance was getting there. But then like an attack starts happening, and instead of running away like Aldrich had asked her to, she runs towards the fight. and into the city because she wants to save her friends. There we find some Northerners. They know that she is, an air mage or whatever, and so they're fighting or whatever, and the prince gets hurt, so she unleashes all this power that she didn't even know she had. When she wakes up from her subconscious, she is brought before the king or the emperor, and he's like, you hurt my son, you killed all these people, this is all because of you, which of course we know it's not, and he just uses it as a political game to entie her to the military, where she is going with Aldrich and Balder and all of their, guards and stuff to the north. And he said, if you can win me the north, you will have your freedom. End of book 1. Now what is our girl going to do? We're in book 2, and the whole book 2 is all about this war, right? Like, it's all about being there, and then she is attacked again. So now they have to create like a decoy for her, where she goes into Balder's, regimen, which he doesn't do magic. So he has like the Golden Guard is what they are, and they fight with swords and stuff. And then you have the Black Knights, which is Aldrich's group, who are sorcerers and things like that. And so now she has to like dye her hair and stuff because this girl is just relentlessly being, attacked. And she goes to Balder's group. And the whole time you're going through this, she's meeting a whole cast of characters. And book 2, which is Fire Falling, I started getting kind of out of the book, I guess. I was like, I just don't know about any of this. I don't know. Like, there was just a lot of things I didn't know. And of course, I could be wrong. This could be in book 1 as well. Like, I bought months ago when Audible had their sale, books 1 through 5. The complete series was on sale for like, I think $6.99 or something like that. And I said, sure. So I really like it that like I listen to these chapters, and then it's like book 2, Fire Falling, or book 3, Earth's End. So everything kind of melds right into each other. But, we're in the north, we're fighting, and, things are happening and stuff. And then, she's not allowed to be around Aldrich because the emperor, says that, oh, you need to be with me, kind of thing. And then, I don't even know, guys. Like, then you get into Earth's End, which is still about the fighting and the north and things that are going on there, and our girl is still trying to get her freedom. She can't be around Aldrich very much, but they still kind of find a way. And then Balder, this whole time he's been trying to tell her, don't, get caught up with him, he's a liar, he's just using you, all of these things. And then Balder finally finds out, like, he has this realization moment in book 3 where he's like, this is real. And they look at him and they say, yes, we love each other, yada, yada, yada. But then our girl can project, right? Like, she can, like, astral project, I guess. It's part of her magic. But Aldrich can be with her, like, in a way, but he can't see what she's seeing. So she's, like, infiltrating the North's, fortress and stuff and trying to bring it down. She wants her freedom. She's starting to find out more about these crystal weapons and these crystal caverns and kind of what they are. And, just everything that the emperor says is not fully true. So our girl is trying to uncover, things on her own. And she's the only person that has magic that can touch crystals, that can wield crystal weapons. We do find that out. And that's what air mages do, I guess. They can, hone the crystal power or whatever, which makes them even more deadly, which is why they were utilized to go to the crystal caverns, which brought back the whole history before they were, like, entirely, like, wiped out. That basically it was like the War of the Crystal Caverns or something like that. So, there's like all of these politics and history that I'm absolutely loving about it. The pacing of the book is really good. I do like Elise Kova's writing style. I absolutely do. I feel like for her YA genre, she can just flow very well. Of course, you have your typical cliche plot lines. You have, the typical, girl is just, a lowborn, a nobody, and she's really, like the one. And that's okay. The romance was very easy to see. But the one thing that I really like about this is that the things that I didn't like about the first book, how everything was just so easy with her and Aldrich, they go through so many trials together to be together. Like he, loses her and then gets her back. She loses him and she gets him back. Like, I mean, they do go through a lot. And then at the end of book 3, basically, like, I guess he ends up, like, making her a lady because he convinces her father to give her freedom and make her a lady of the court. But in doing so, he sacrifices basically him being with her and says that he will marry the girl from the north because they want to reunite the north with everybody else. So, the emperor can have, like, complete control over all of the regions. And whenever Aldrich comes to, tell her, they say some very mean things, some very hurtful things you can't take back. And the one thing that she does say is, it wasn't your life that I thought I was saving, it was Balder's. And that really, like, hurt him, and all of a sudden our girl, that's at the end of book 3, our girl leaves, we don't know where she's going, and it's kind of the end for them. Now, the question is, am I going to continue and read, what is the 4th book? I can't think of what the 4th book's called. I know the 5th one is called Crystal Crowned. Oh, it's called Water's Wrath is what the 5th book is called. The 4th book, I mean. So I am going to continue. I am very invested in this story. I am very intrigued. The writing style is just so good. You just feel like you can sink right into it. It doesn't take a lot of brain power to follow along with the plot or learn the history, which I absolutely love that. And the way that the main characters and side characters are written, it's kind of like the found family feeling where, they're all very close. You grow to love each and every one of them in their own, respect and what they do and what they bring. I absolutely love that the romance with Aldrich and Vala is not easy. It's not like, oh, we're in love, and then it's just like, nothing really gets in their way. I mean, they fight to be together truly, and they hurt each other at the very end of book 3, and I'm like, I don't even know how we're coming back from this, guys. And the world is, not an extensive world. Like, you don't hear extensive history about the East or the West or the North or the South. I mean, granted, in books 1 through 3, you don't. You do learn about each region. You learn a little bit about different things, but you don't, like, get that deep dive like an epic fantasy, right? You don't get, like, these elaborate world history, teaching moments. You don't get, like, it's because this twig, like, fell over the cliff and it created this whole war. Like, you don't get that, but you do get enough to where you understand the world, you understand the layout, you understand who these characters are, where they're from, what they represent, and different things like that. So I'm really shocked that I'm loving this so much. I'm very sad because I sold my bookish box edition, I think, of the Awakens series. It was a very beautiful 5-book box set with beautiful artwork and everything, but I did it a couple months ago, and I was like, I'm just never going to read this book. I'm never going to get to it. It's been sitting on my shelf for probably 2 years. I had never gravitated towards it. Even buying all 5 books in that, set on Audible, I still never gravitated towards it. So I was like, I'm never going to read it. But then at the end of September, I was like, oh, I can probably get all 5 of these books in, by the end. No, I did not. I didn't even attempt to at that point because it's a 40-hour book if I listen to it on 1.5 times speed, which is what I do. It's actually a 60-hour book. All 5 books. It's 60 hours. So I'm like, oh, there's no way I'm getting through 40 hours, with 2 days left in September, because I was like, even if I listened to it non-stop, I mean, that would be 40 of the 48 hours, and there was just no way that was happening. So I didn't even start it until, earlier this week. But I have gotten all 3 books read. I am also reading this week, I'm diving in and out of the world, but I am reading Blood Union Part 1, where, I'm about 25% in, roughly, maybe 30. And I am so happy to be back in that world. But here's where I have a problem. I love the Blood Gray series. We all know this. If you're, been here for a while, you know that I absolutely love the Blood Gray series. So we knew that I was automatically going to like that and that I was automatically going to want to binge it. I did not account for loving the Awakens series as much as I have. Like, I just can't stop listening to it. I put the book on, listened to it. I deep cleaned my apartment. I put together a new bookshelf that I got, which is like a 3-shelf bookshelf. I even bought one of those, TBR carts, and put that together, put my books on there that I had already done my video of for the books that I want to read for the rest of the year. And I've done like a deep cleaning. I've done so many things. I went and did my Walmart shopping. And I just can't stop listening to this book. I'm finding things to do so I can keep listening because I am so into this. So I can't wait to start book 4. So you'll probably hear me wrap up book 4s and 5 next week on my wrap up. But also hopefully I get into Blood Union Part 1 a little bit more so I can give you my thoughts on that. And then also I downloaded a thriller that I did say in my books that I want to read for the rest of the year, and I want to read it so desperately because next week is my last week that I have before I won't be able to listen to books during the day because our busy season is in full swing starting on the 16th of October. So for about 2 months, I won't even be able to listen to books while I'm at work. So my reading consumption is going to decline very quickly. And unfortunately, that's just how it has to be. I wish that I could be at home, read books all day, and have a good time. But unfortunately, that's not the world we live in. So I will live vicariously through anybody who watches this video that gets that opportunity to just stay at home, read, and just have a good time. So I'm going to wrap up everything here. I kind of gave you, what books 1, 2, and 3 are about and kind of my feelings. I know I didn't go into like every single character and stuff, but right now I want to get through the series before I give you my full entire thoughts. Because I have a feeling there is 1 or 2 characters that have been portrayed as good, and I think they're going to take a turn. And I think they're going to be bad. We will see. We'll see next week whenever I do a wrap up on my full thoughts of Awakens. But I wanted to kind of jump on here, let you guys know what I've been reading this week since I'm not doing vlogs or anything. And leave me some comments below if you've read the full Awakens series. Does book 4 and 5 really bring the plot fully together? Do you get some twists in there? Just give me your general thoughts on it. And then also leave me some suggestions down below on, some books that you're currently reading that you think that I might like. But until next week, whenever I see you guys, I hope you all have a great start to your October. And I can't wait to get into some more books. But definitely let's have some conversations down below. But you guys have a good day. Bye.